everyone. It's good to have you all back for another Teacher Tech Club 2019. We are a little late. You know, we like to start earlier inside the school year, but better late than never, right? So we have a very exciting session for you over the next 4 weeks, and we will actually be using the program Nearpod. So I'm going to send a link in the chat, or you can go to nearpod.com on your own and select join a meeting. And I'm just pasting the link into the chat. You can either click onto that link to take you to the Nearpod, or if you can just go to your website and type in nearpod.com, and it will ask you to join a meeting, and that's the code. And you will put in the code and then put in your name. And I can see all of the names popping up on my end for Nearpod. Okay, so now you should have your Zoom, and then you should have your Nearpod open and see my screen that says Teacher Tech Club 2019. Good? Give me some thumbs up so I can see if you're on Nearpod with me. Excellent. So before we get started, I want to find out who all is in the session with us. So here's using your Nearpod device. I'd like for you to tell us where you're joining from. So if you can send us a selfie or a groupie and paste it here to our collaboration board so we can see where you're coming from. So you're using the Nearpod app now to send in your details. So either if you're by yourself, you could send us a selfie. I hope you're not shy. If you are shy, you can just send us your name, which school or island that you're from, so we can see who all is in the session with us today. All right? All right, Felicity from Stephen Dillett, good to have you first in. What happened to the selfies? Y'all so stale. Y'all just sending texts. If these were some high school children, now you put some filters on that and y'all be good. Let's get some images in there. All right, so we have a group from Stephen Dillett and Clarice Cox from Maurice Moore. Good to have you. Simone Lang. Thelma Gibson. Simone Lang, how you get to Thelma Gibson, girlfriend? All right. Keisha LaCash, Anatole, good to have you. And Letheria from Anatole, welcome. Miss Mills McPhee, good to have you. And Albury Sales, Miss Brown. And S from Sadira. There we go, from Woodcock Primary. Hey, Derica, how you doing? From Eva Hilton. And Gaynell Hicks from Inagua, good to have you. Hey, Miss Waynette, good to have you too in the room. And we have Raquel from Roca's Point, Exuma, good to have you in. And South Andrews is in the place. And Wims Bite. Debbie Johnson, Sandilands Primary, is good to have you too. Portia Grant, what you saying, girl? Good to have you in here. Lakeisha and Teresa and Alexa. Georgetown Primary, hey, Miss Roach. Welcome to Teacher Tech Club. And hey, Sadie Curtis crew popping up on the screen. There we go. Good to have you guys at Teacher Tech Club today. Hey, Anishka from Thelma Gibson. Now we got an EP Roberts crew popping up on the screen. Thanks for sharing your image with us today. All right, so we're gonna have to go on. So those of you who did not get to put in where you're from, welcome anyhow. It's good to have all of you in the session today. Hey, Ms. Strawn from Albury Sale, Lower Deadman's Key Primary in Long Island. It's good to have you in the house. Yes, definitely Always a pleasure to have you guys here with us. James Diston Primary, good to have you too. So let's just go on because we have a lot to cover in this one short hour. So the aim of Teacher Tech Club is to inspire and empower teachers to integrate technology effectively to increase student engagement and achievement in the classroom. And this is our third year running Teacher Tech Club, and I see a lot of familiar names and faces who were with us from the very beginning. Welcome back. And those of you who are new, I hope that you join us forever as we continue to do Teacher Tech Club each week. So during this cycle of Teacher Tech Club, we will be looking at the different ways or the different levels of integrating technology inside your classroom. And we will be using the SAMR model, SAMR, SAMR model. So let me find out from you, how familiar are you with the SAMR model? There's a poll on your screen right now, and I want you to submit your answer. So those of you who are using one device, you can come up with an average for everyone, but submit your responses and let's see. How familiar are you with that acronym SAMR? Either you've never heard of it, or you heard a little bit, you know quite a lot, or you know way more than probably me, and you could run the session today. Which is it? Send in your responses so I can get an idea of how many of us are familiar, have some idea of what the SAMR model is. Now, for those of you who don't know, the program that we're actually using is called Nearpod, and it is a web-based application that allows teachers and students to interact. And if you're noticing, we had a collaborate board so far, and now here's a poll. So this is something that you can use inside your classroom and create lessons and have students send in their responses using different modes. And you'll see it as we continue throughout the day and throughout the rest of the this particular cycle. All right, so based on this results, based on what you submit, I can see that 72% of you, was around 70, well now 72% of you have never heard of the SAMR model. So I'm so happy to be sharing something new with you, even though we had 20% of you with no answer. So let's continue so that we can hear and learn about the SAMR model. So there's a quick video, and I will play it from my device. So just follow along.
Okay, we all know that using technology in school can help students learn. But how can our teachers reflect on how effectively they're using technology?
Well, that's what this model is for, the SAMR model. It's kind of like a Bloom's taxonomy for educators.
It was created by this guy, Dr. Ruben Puentedora, who believes that using technology allows us to think differently and perform new tasks.
After all, if we have today's technology, then why teach like we did 20 years ago?
There's 4 different levels and 2 different sections in SAMR.
Let's take a look at the first level, substitution.
This is where the technology used acts as a direct substitute. Let's take the task of persuasive essay writing. I could write an essay by hand, or I could type an essay using the basic features of a word processing program.
The task is the same and there's no functional change. The technology is being used as a substitute.
Lots of teachers start out at this level, but don't worry. Because substitution is not a bad thing,
Even the best teachers visit this level from time to time.
the next level is called augmentation. This is where the task is still the same, but the tech allows for some sort of functional improvement. So instead of writing our persuasive essay on paper, we could use a program like Google Docs.
With this software, the task is still the same, but the unique features of a collaborative document provide some functional improvement.
In both these levels, the technology is used to simply enhance a lesson. This technology may make tasks more efficient, but it's not likely to make a big difference in future outcomes. Most learning takes place above the line, and it starts with modification.
Here, the technology is used to provide a significant task redesign.
So instead of simply writing an essay, a student could publish a WordPress blog using text, embedded videos, pictures, and other web links to convey their argument. The audience is no longer just the teacher either.
It's the entire world.
People from anywhere with an internet connection could review or comment on their writing, allowing for deeper analysis.
The final level and the ultimate goal of technology integration is redefinition.
Here, the technology allows for the creation of new tasks that were previously inconceivable. Instead of writing that essay, students could now create and publish a digital storytelling project to argue their writing with multimedia.
Plus, just like the blog, through publishing this movie to the world, it allows for other people to comment and analyze their message.
So the heart of the assignment is still the same, but the technology allows them to engage in a new, more involved task that's otherwise not possible.
At these levels, learning is transformed through the use of technology. When we are more engaged and involved, significant improvements in learning are more likely to take place.
Different people have different ideas about SAMR. Some think that SAMR is like a ladder that you climb. You start at substitution and work your way up to redefinition.
Others think each level is like a swimming pool that you swim in or visit from time to time throughout the school year, and that's okay.
Because no matter the interpretation, the real power of the framework is that it promotes reflective teaching in the classroom. What you do, why you do it, and how it helps learning.
By thinking about the different levels, teachers can focus on designing digital learning experiences that will help improve student outcomes.
See, the thing about SAMR is this. It's not the type of tech tool that defines the level. It's how the individual teacher uses it in their lesson.
So whether you're substituting or redefining learning,
remember the ultimate outcome for integrating technology should be simple. Maximizing student success. Want more information on SAMR? Check out these links.
All right, good. So now you heard about what the SAMR model is. The SAMR model tells us the different levels of technology integration. S for substitution, A for augmentation, M for modification, R for redefinition. Just based on what you saw in the video, just based on that alone, where do you mostly swim in the technology integration pool? Tell us, where do you mostly swim? Or where do you feel more comfortable swimming? On the substitution, oh, well, first of all, are you on the, some of you may still be on dry dock, I'm not sure. Up on the shore, or in the substitution where tech acts as a direct tool, or augmentation is right there on the screen. Submit, where do you think you fall, or where do you swim? All right, we're getting some responses in. More than half of you with no answer yet. So if you need to look back at the image and get an idea, or you can just make an educated guess or guess for now. All right, so we're gonna go on. And here are the results. We see that 39% of you, well, it's up to 41%, mostly augment, well, school, and only about 15% of you say substitute. And about 70 of you said, I'm not even in the water. So what we need to know about the SAMR model is this. It aims to enable teachers to design, develop, and integrate digital learning experiences that leads to high levels of achievement for students. And you know that it's difficult to talk about levels of student achievement without talking about Bloom's taxonomy, right? You know how this Bloom's always seem to come inside our lives for more than one reason as a teacher. And so here we see how the SAMR model aligns with the new Bloom's taxonomy. So you have the 4 levels of substitution, augmentation, modification, redefinition, and you see how they align with Bloom's. And as we go over the next 4 weeks, we will be taking each one of the levels of the SAMR model and dig into it a little bit deeper, so that when you plan your lessons and you're looking at using technology, you know exactly where it falls in terms of the Bloom's taxonomy, okay? So this first week, we will be looking at substitution. Substitution is when technology acts as a direct tool substitute with no functional change. So all it is the technology is used to replace traditional tools. And then when we look at it now from the Bloom's taxonomy, the substitution, these are some of the objectives or some of the verbs that come underneath the remembering that you would use a substitution tier for. If you want to have students match, define, locate, describe, recall, identify, list, find, you know what we call those verbs on the bottom level of the Bloom's taxonomy. Well, substitution is what you will be most likely be using it for. Now, we all know as teachers, there are some things that you cannot run away from when it comes to the remembering or the knowledge level of Bloom's. You know, sometimes, you know, your administrators will say, oh, we need higher level objectives, higher level objectives. However, there are just some things that students will have to define. They will have to recall. They will have to remember. You know, certain things like their mathematical facts, some definitions for vocabulary, those things they need to know, and they would be at the bottom level of the Bloom's, but they're necessary. So you would still try to use substitution when necessary. And as the video said too, there are often times that I don't like to think of the SAMR model as a ladder, trying to reach up to the top tier. I like the analogy of the pool, where there are times that you move back and forth between whether substitution or redefinition, because it's based on what it is that you are trying to accomplish with the lesson that you're teaching, the goals. Okay, no need to redefine something if you only need the children to label the microscope. You understand? Why do we need to go and create a brand new microscope that doesn't exist just because we want them to label or know the parts of a microscope? So let's don't undervalue the substitution level and the bottom level of the Bloom's taxonomy. Now, look briefly at some substitution activities, things that you can put into your classroom to get technology up and running in your class. And sometimes this is one of the easiest ways or the simplest ways to get technology integration, especially for beginners. You can substitute out hard copy activities for digital activities and still receive the same outcome. Now, here are one of the things that you have to take in consideration when you look at substitution activities. Sometimes when you substitute, you have to think about why is it that you're actually substituting a hard copy, let's say, for a digital copy. It may not be because you're trying to get a higher gain when it comes to student outcome, but it may have some other benefits in it as well, and we'll talk about that in a bit. So let's look at the first activity that I have here. This is a plain out simple substitution where you use a word processor to take notes or complete an assignment instead of writing. So you can have students, if they have tablets or their laptops or whatever, they can type their homework in or type their essay in rather than writing it in their book. That is a simple way of substitution, right? Where it's the same activity. If the student has to create a story, the technology doesn't make the story, typing the story doesn't make the students any better at it, I should say, or it doesn't add anything to the function of writing an actual story if they're using a word processor. So for persons who have Microsoft Word, you have Notepad, those of you with Kindles in your classroom, you will have this WPS, that red W at the bottom. That's an app on the Kindles that is similar to Microsoft Word that will allow them to create docs. And I know on the Android devices, you may have documents to go as well as you have access to Google Docs, where students can write, well, type instead of write. And then you have to remember too that it'll take them a longer time to type than write. Well, unless they're texting. So you could weigh that out. So that's one activity, that's a substitution activity. Now here's another activity that's substitution. Rather than reading a hard copy textbook, you allow students to read an e-text or some sort of e-text. It doesn't change the function of what's happening. The students are reading content, whether it's a story or it's some sort of text content material. They're reading. Now, remember when I talked about the reason for using substitution may not always be for academic gain, it may be for something else. And here's one of the benefits. Suppose you don't have enough textbooks in your classroom. Suppose you don't have enough copies of the text. You may want to have students use digital copies, and you can create your own textbooks as well, using PowerPoint, and convert them to PDF and then share them with your students. And that's how it becomes a PDF document. I know you teachers, you have lots and lots and lots of content on your computer. When you think about your PowerPoint presentations that you make now, they are mainly content. Slide 1, slide 2, it's just a matter of simply converting them to PDF, and then you can share them. Right? You share them via email, you can save them on a jump drive, share it with your students, or even through WhatsApp. So on the next slide, this is a video showing you right quick how you take a PowerPoint presentation and convert it to a PDF document if you don't know how to do it, okay? All right, so you saw how to do that. Do you think that's difficult? Yeah, it did go very quickly. I know it was a quick little video. Now in regular teacher tech style, you will be getting your follow-up newsletter with all of these videos and all of this information, okay? So if you didn't get this video this time, it will be coming in your email to you in the follow-up newsletter. All right, so it was quite simple. Once you have your PowerPoint presentation, you go into File and you go down the list and you'll see Export. And from Export, you change the format to PDF. For some, you may see Export, or you can also use that Save As feature. If you use Save As, it's all about changing that file name to PDF. And once you change it to a PDF, then boom, it now becomes a PDF document that you can open up in any PDF viewer. And I've seen teachers, what they'll do is they will email the PDF document to themselves so it can be on their phone. And then once it's on your phone, you just share it via WhatsApp if you have a group, students groups for those of you in secondary school or whatever the case may be. And if you have class tablets, you can send it to one email address, and then you log into that email address, and it now can go onto all of the devices, either using Dropbox or Google Drive or something like that. All right, and you get to share your actual content with your students. Now, and that's a quick way of substitution. You substitute a hard copy piece of paper, a textbook, some sort of content, and now the students can now read it and access it on their devices. So the benefit of it is we get to maximize our resources, okay? And you don't have to lug around a whole lot of books. You could just start saving all of your PowerPoints, PDFs, and shoot them out to your students so that they can have the content. All right, so the next thing that I would like to show you in terms of substitution is completing a digital worksheet instead of a hard copy assignment. Now, there are a number of ways that we can allow students to complete digital worksheets. The registration form that you use to fill out to register for Teacher Tech Club was created in Microsoft Forms, and that can be considered a worksheet if you ask the right type of questions, right? You can even set it up as a quiz, send the link out, and the students can complete the worksheet digitally. Google Forms is another way of doing it. But the one that I'd like to share with you today is live worksheets from liveworksheets.com. I'm going to show you it right here on my screen so you can see what it is all about. So once you go to liveworksheets.com, you'll see that there are lots and lots of worksheets already created, and you can search by topic subject, or if you want to, you can actually create your own. So let's just pick up one of these worksheets so you can see what it is about. This is match subject pronouns. And so we see we, what, bring or brings, and it seems to be drag and drop. All right, that's one type of activity. I want to get one that looks like an actual worksheet that you will normally have in your classroom. So here's a worksheet that you will possibly have in your classroom. And it asks, listen and choose. So you could add audio.
Fantasy film. Adventure film. Scary film.
And then you just drag. It could be click and drag. And see here, you could even add where the students have to put in their short answer. And they can type in. And the wonderful thing about it is this is a free site. You can create your own account and set up, add students to it. And you can share this. You can create a student accounts with passwords and all of that. And the students, once you set up worksheets for your students, they log in with the link and they can complete the activity online, and the computer will mark it and you get the results in your inbox. All right. So let me see, just for the sake of persons who are not on Nearpod, for you to have an idea. Here's another worksheet with personal pronouns. This looks like something that you just type up inside your Microsoft Word, right? So see here, and then you get to put in the type of questions you want if you're creating your own, but why reinvent the wheel if something is here? You can come here, and you see this is actually a drop down. And once it's completed, let me see if it can be shared in Google Classroom. And if you notice, you could also download it as well as a PDF if you want to make a hard copy of it. And then when you create your account, you actually get to create workbooks. So you can start like curating worksheets from the site, and you can have a math workbook, a science workbook, a social studies workbook, or a grade 7 workbook, grade 9 workbook, and you can actually save the worksheets. And then, now, I don't know if lessons for food and nutrition, but you could check that out on your own, okay? And I did say free. This is an awesome site. Lots of resources, and they're already there. And you can, like I say, you have the options to create your own. You see, make interactive, and then see they even have tutorials here built in to show you how to do it. All right. And when you do make your worksheets, please send me a link so that, you know, we could share. Oh, yes. And when you make those PDF books that I showed you how to do just now, send me a copy, okay? Don't be mean. Share. I'd like to get all of everything that you have so that we can share them with everyone else. All right, so now moving right along, here is Miss Zenobia Taylor Smith from Galvantines Primary, and this is how she used the substitution method in her class. So big shout outs to Zenobia, who is in the session today. All right, so you see from that video, She was actually using QR codes where the students scanned the code and it gave them a number problem, a number equation, and then they had to solve this number equation. And she did it in a game where the students were competing in teams, right? Now, she could have simply given that on a worksheet, right? 10 to 15 problems on the worksheet and tell them, okay, do the worksheet, and when you finish, turn it in. They would have gotten the same type of gain academically in terms of student achievement doing this activity as the same as doing a physical hard copy activity. But what was the difference? Who's going to tell me what was the difference? What was the gain this teacher got from doing it this way and using technology? You can put it in the chat. Students were motivated and engaged, right? They had fun. And it was definitely student engagement. And I'm just going to play it again. And this time I want you to look at the rest of the students in the classroom. Watch, 2 students are up at the board solving the problem, but watch the other children in the classroom. They were very much involved. They were engaged, not falling asleep, thinking. What do you think that also did for student behavior in terms of classroom management? Because she could simply say, okay, you didn't know how to behave, you can't touch my tablets later, or you won't get to participate in activity. If your name is on the board, you don't get to participate in this activity. And you can think about how students will say, oh yeah, well, I want to participate in the activity. So they will definitely improve their behavior. But like I say, when we look at the outcomes in terms of are the students learning to add any better than they would have if they were doing it on a hard copy paper? No, not really. The function doesn't change at the substitution level. What happens at the substitution level is they have other benefits. So some of the other things that the students learned benefit from gained in this was they got digital skills using QR codes, and they were working on their speed and accuracy and all of that. All right, so anytime you see the SAMR model and you hear about the substitution level, just because it's at the bottom of the tier, it seems to be bottom of the tier, it does not mean that this is the one that you don't want to go to or it's lower level. Okay, now there's lower level with Blooms, but sometimes it's what you need. It's according to what it is that you're trying to accomplish. If you need strong engagement, sometimes substitution is the easy way to go and it's quick. If you need them to define, if you need them to remember things. All right, so let's look at some substitution tools. And like I said, you will get all of this in your follow-up newsletter in a day or so. And here are just some quick activities that is just simply substitution. You will have your students, some of you will have your students use a hard copy dictionary. You want them to get dictionary skills. And so you tell them, oh, go to the dictionary and find these, define these words, define whatever. They can use the app. You have the thesaurus site and app. If you teach in the periodic table, you can go to the website. A lot of times too, you know, teachers tell them to bring in the newspaper so that we can have a discussion. Well, why not just go to the nassauguardian.com? It's for free. And by teaching them too to go to these real life tools in your classroom, they know where to find it later on. So for example, and I won't embarrass you, but I hope not. How many of you still use the phone book, as in the yellow pages and the white pages, for something other than elevating your physical phone on the table? How many of you, tell me, oh, we have one raised hand. You actually use the phone book still? That's good. I think it's just become like a part of the furniture in the front room, you know? That is just where the phone goes, on top of the phone book. But if you want a number, now that persons are getting more online, you just go and you pick up your phone and you go to Bahamas Local, or just put it inside Google, and it will bring up Bahamas Local, and you find what you need. And so you want to teach children these things too, because these are the tools that they have access to. And sometimes they don't even know that they have access to these things. Now, yeah, if the number is not online, then you're gonna have to go back to that big blue and yellow book, okay? But most businesses now you're finding online through Bahamas Local or one of those other sites. The calculator on the tablet is the same calculator as the calculator if they were to buy a calculator. The function is the same. But now what you're also telling your students is this: I don't need a separate device because I have everything right here. So when they go into the mall at Marathon and they want to add up something, they don't have to feel, oh, I don't have my calculator. I don't know how to do this, because you show them that we give them another tool. And yes, Garnell, the phone book does have a wealth of information. And guess what? That's the reason why I always get it too, because I love the information. That's the only reason I get it, to get all that historical stuff at the beginning for those first pages. But after I didn't take them out, you could get rid of the rest of the book. I straight. So CRAM, you see CRAM down there on the list. CRAM is a flashcard site that they have lots and lots of flashcards. So multiplication, any type of flashcard, if you want to use this for your substitution. You know, in the morning times when you do your morning drills and you do your timetables, and you have to sit and say 3 times 3 equals nah, 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 nah. And then sometimes the teacher will say 9 times 2, 6 times 4, da, da, da. Rather than using your good voice, put them inside the CRAM, and then let the flashcards automatically come up. And then the students answer. And guess what you get to do in the morning time? Perhaps take another sip of your Starbucks. There are lots and lots and lots of other flashcard apps out there that you can use. And there are lots of things for preschool, Simone. And even if there aren't, when you go into CRAM, you can create your own. Whether it's going to be letter identification, color identification, you can go and you can search those things and they will be there for you. We have, I think, 2 more slides, and then we'll open the floor for any questions or anything like that, okay? Oh, talk about 2 more slides. I'm sorry. 1 last. This is it. So, question and answer. We talked about substitution today. All we looked at is the simplest way to integrate technology in your classroom is just by substituting something that you would normally do, hard copy, or another way, using some sort of digital technology. And there are lots of other ways to do it. So in your follow-up newsletter, I'm also going to be sending a list of other activities that you can do. I see the question, anything for specialists, what subject? Like the site like Live Worksheets, they have all subject areas. CRAM will have all subject areas. You can also just type in your Google search, flashcards for chemistry, flashcards for biology, and you should see some things should come up, okay? CRAM has a free version, and that's good enough for us. So you can check it out and see what's available. But there are also some other free flashcard apps out there that I will add to the newsletter. Nearpod has a free version, and there's also a paid version, and they have lots and lots and lots of tutorials online. So we'll be using Nearpod throughout for the next 4 weeks, or including this week as we do our Teacher Tech Club. So you'll be able to see a lot of its features, and you can sign up for free and get a free teacher account. You just don't have all of the features, but the basic features is good enough. Trust me, I love Nearpod. All right, so are we good, everyone? Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you all for coming.